we are.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Young Dogs. For those of you just joining us, I'm Sam,
I'm Curtis,
and we're the Young Dogs.
and this is episode 2.
It is episode 2, and I'm super excited that we're in our new little studio we built. So welcome to our home.
Yeah, just bear with us as we kind of get lighting and everything corrected.
Yeah. But super excited to talk today about a topic that I'm actually really passionate about, and that's mentorship. We're going to talk about how to be a good mentee, how to find that great mentorship and those people that have those like pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
How to be a good mentor for maybe a refresher for some people, or if you've never been a mentor before, maybe you need to be mentoring.
Yeah. And maybe not like this is not gonna be like a how-to mentor, maybe
No.
a couple pointers, but informing people that mentorship is okay.
Yeah, I think it's not even just okay, but it's really a responsibility, right? Because when you think about it, we're curators of the dogs. Like it's kind of like being a curator in a museum. Somebody explained it to me that way once, and it's really like they were there before we came along and loved them and bred them, and they're going to be there after us, right? Like hopefully, like I hope bull terriers are around long after me.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, we have children that are currently showing dogs, and
We do.
their children may one day show dogs. So
I have to tell this little story before we get into it. You know, my 11-year-old's telling my 8-year-old she's getting ready to turn 9. She's getting ready to turn 9 and start juniors with a bull terrier. Of course, it has to be the bull terrier. And he's like, you have to be passionate and you have to be willing to stay in a crummy motel and get up really early, and you have to love it, or you're never going to succeed. And it's just like, he's so intense.
he is, yes. And Margaret, I think sometimes when Cole talks is just in one ear and out the other, but I think she's pretty tough.
She wasn't listening.
Yeah, she wasn't listening.
But in his own way, he was trying to be a mentor, I guess, to his little sister.
Yeah.
And she was being a mentee by maybe listening to him and being inspired.
Preparing her for the trials and tribulations, because she's never been to a dog show before. Or staying in a crummy motel.
I'm pretty sure there are people watching this podcast that may have held my daughter at a dog show like as an infant.
Yeah. Well, both of our kids have been in the show ring from before birth.
Before birth.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Anyways, but to kick it off, so I've definitely been at shows or around the purebred dog world enough to hear someone maybe come up and say, no one will mentor me. No, I can find nobody to help me. And I have a hard time with that statement just because I'm very much about ownership and owning my own problems. That's why we're here on the podcast. And so I guess I would start off with Curtis. If somebody came to you and said, I can't find anybody to help me, what do I do? Where would you direct them?
Well, I think for starters, it's, if you're at the dog show, right, and somebody comes up and they're lost and they don't know what to do, I think mentorship can be as simple as, well, when are you showing? What is your ring time? Where is your ring? Do you have your armband? Are you prepared to go? Because that may not be like the highest level of mentorship, but it's a level of guidance and just being that person who understands that somebody might need help. I've been to a dog show completely by myself before. It was kind of terrifying. Even though I had been to dog shows hundreds of times with you, I went by myself and I was mildly terrified. Make sure I get to the ring on time. Make sure I knew where the ring was and to pick up my number. And so I think that level of mentorship is just simply being there when somebody needs you. And I know that a lot of people that we have maybe guided into the show ring, and we can't always be there, and everybody else knows that you can't always be there, especially if you sell a show dog to somebody and that person takes the dog to a show and they're by themselves and you can't be there because we live in Texas and they live in Virginia or something. And so my hope is not only specifically in our breed, but the dog show community, the dog show world would be a little bit more open to helping people who actually are requiring some sort of assistance.
Yeah. And that really ties back to, be the change, right? Be the culture change you want to see at a dog show. So I've been at a show before and had somebody literally somebody important, right? A professional. And I understand they're busy. Um, oh my gosh, how long are you going to be? Because I was like, fumbling and trying to get these dogs in and out of crates. And I think just being that culture change and maybe detaching a little bit from your own emotions and your own sort of ego, let's say, because we're all really proud of our dogs. And we're proud to be breeders and exhibitors of the dog show. Kind of maybe setting a little bit of that aside. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't be proud, but also saying, whoa, I see someone and they're really struggling. They don't even know how to put their show lead on. Let's take a minute and just help that
Yeah.
person. But I think going back to the question of, you know, I can't find anybody to mentor me. I took it really seriously when I was a mentee to be well read. And so I didn't just, I guess, go to somebody and ask for the cookbook, let's say, of
Right.
like answers. How do I breed these dogs? And like, how do I put together like a pedigree of something that I'm interested? Like, how do I put these
So
two
you're
dogs
saying
together?
you prepared yourself with questions, answers, like
Yes, absolutely. So I was at one point kind of affiliated or assigned somebody who was extremely experienced in my breed. And I used to have like a monthly phone call with this individual. I won't disclose their name, but they were wonderful and they were brilliant and had probably all the answers plus some. But what I would do is before that monthly phone call, I would prepare. And when I saw them actually like at a show in person, I would try my best to be well read, meaning reading things like it could be on the internet. There's a lot of material out there on like the Parent Club website. And I mean, there's oodles of articles and past publications. But also just, I bought some books. I read books on not only my breed, but also animal husbandry. Like, the Book of the Bitch is a book about breeding dogs,
right.
just breeding dogs, right? And because some of the semantics of that, they don't matter. Like every breed is specific, but some of the basic ideas of like a dog being pregnant for about 63 days, that applies to everybody.
Right.
And whelping matters, and puppies needing to nurse every few hours, and knowing what a dehydrated puppy looks like. These are all things that I think we can those materials are out there for you. So be well read in that type of stuff first. If you're interested in showing, try to go to a seminar, try to look up videos on YouTube, try to get a hold of some show books. There's a lot of really great books that have been written. George Alston's written some books. I'm not endorsing that book. I own that book. Pat Trotter has some incredible books out there. Also not endorsing, own the book, love the book. Can name you, a laundry list of things. And try to be well read before you approach that person that you really respect and you think might have some answers for you, is what I would throw out there. So do you have a main nugget you would throw out for somebody for being a good mentee, I guess, when you approach this pillar of your breed?
Well, expectation. So you need to understand that most likely when trying to find a mentor, it may not work the first time. That, and it could be with that same person. It may be with a different person, because there are more than one mentor opportunities in each specific breed. Sometimes it's just about finding maybe that right mentor, but sometimes it's maybe a little bit of wearing down a mentor, right? Understanding that that person, yes, is busy. They have their own lives. They're breeding dogs. They're going to shows, and so when you approach somebody for mentorship, probably the first thing to come to their mind is like, not right now, like, go away, like I'm trying to groom my dog.
Maybe.
It's kind of how it is sometimes. It's probably not as common that when somebody approaches, they're like, oh no, stay here, yeah, come here and watch, and
Yeah.
I'll show you everything to do. When making up dogs, I know there's like some secrets, right? Some, different breeds have like different touches, use different
Scissors.
yeah, they different things to make their dog perfect. And so
Some of the breeds that are like really foofy, like I feel like they're just full of secrets. Like that hair is full of secrets.
yes,
Secrets I'll never have.
and
by the
not
way.
every mentor,
That's okay.
not every mentor wants to share all of those secrets to somebody right away. But I think you make a really valid point. Being prepared, right, to be a mentee. You can't just expect all of the answers to be given to you. You can't just kind of walk in and be like, oh, I would love to know everything you're doing while grooming your dog. well, they may not want those answers. So maybe have a list of questions that you would like to ask. Like, why is it important that you touch up this part of the dog? Why is it important? I noticed that you're trimming the neckline. Why are you doing that exactly? What does that show?
Yeah.
You sound intelligent in your breed, and as if you have an understanding of what you're talking
And
about.
I would say like master the basics first. Like I'm talking like the basics of pet care.
So like read the breed standard.
Well, beyond that, like yes, know your breed standard. That's out there on akc.org. Like that's no secret.
Right.
That information's out there. I will put a link even to akc.org. Again, not endorsing the American Kennel Club. They've registered lots of dogs. I've given them lots of money, but I'll just put their website in the link below in case you want to navigate there and try to like locate your breed standard. But I'm talking like basic pet ownership. Your dog is in good weight. Your dog is clean and free of parasites. Like be a good pet owner first.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to approach a mentor and your dog is in poor condition, that's I'm gonna be like, hey, why don't you learn to like take care of your dog properly?
Yeah. And you can, and that's part of mentorship too.
Yeah.
But people have to be open to understanding that as a mentee, there's a 100% chance you're going to hear something you don't like.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's going to happen. Like, oh, well, your dog is underweight. Your dog is overweight. You're not exercising your dog enough. You're going to hear something, and in your mind as a mentee, the first thing you're going to think is, oh, I exercise him all the time. I take him on walks, twice a day.
Yeah.
And you're going to be defensive. So as a community, mentors to mentees, we all need to understand that this is something that is important for the progression of the breed, and not to be so quick to judge, but maybe a little quicker to understand
and to educate.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really nice segue into like, okay, so, as a mentee, I've gone to the show, I'm well read, I've approached my mentor, I'm asking some great questions, and maybe I'm in the seat of the mentor. So like I've got the new person that, I don't know, maybe it's not my puppy, right? I didn't place this puppy with them. Because I'm gonna assume as a mentor, like if you're a breeder, you're gonna place puppies with people you think might show them, or even just your companion owners, and you're gonna help them, right? Because you care about your dogs and your puppies. So I'm kind of like, Joe Public has reached out to me from the streets, and I'm now in the position of, okay, well, I could be a mentor. What do I do?
Yeah. Well, what do you do?
What do I do? I'm going to come at this, and this is for everybody out there in the dog community. I can be pretty introverted. Like sometimes being around people I don't know makes me really uncomfortable. And if I'm already nervous because I'm at a dog show and I care and I want to do great or whatever, I can be really introverted. I am an introvert that's professional extroverting every day.
I mean, I asked you to marry me after 3 months and you said yes.
Well, some people I warm up to a little quicker than others.
Well, so I guess if somebody wants a mentee program with...
No, that's not how that works.
Okay.
But
I'm just saying.
I mean, are you an extrovert? Are you more of an extrovert?
I am extremely extroverted.
You talk to everybody all the time, and it makes me physically uncomfortable.
So when we're placing puppies, I do all of the phone interviews. I would say I do about 98% of the interactions with the homes.
Because I don't know what to do or say half the time.
Yeah, you know exactly what to do and say.
I just can't physically get it out there.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, and I understand that, you're not the only person out there that's like this. It's not something that you need to change to be a good mentor.
Yeah.
You don't have to change if you don't like talking to people. It's can be done by showing people. And this kind of brings us back to episode 1 a little bit with the toxic world that we live in, and I know that the toxicity is not just in our breed; it is in every breed, and one shape or form there is some sort of toxic going around.
Absolutely.
And so, I think the biggest problem with me when it comes to the toxic part of it is when you are an ambassador for your breed, it does not matter if you are standing behind the person that you're mentoring when you're in the ring. It does not matter if they beat you. It does not matter if you beat them. The bottom line is, it is a congratulatory, hey, great job when you're done.
Yeah.
And if you're really that sour about losing, maybe take some self-reflection. I get it. Sometimes the judging's crazy. I get it. Sometimes things go on in the ring that you have no control over. But the bottom line is, win or lose, you got to do something that you loved that day. That person across from you got to do something that they loved that day. And you're going to get to do it again tomorrow or the day after or the weekend after or every day until you don't want to do it anymore or aren't on the earth to do it anymore.
I think as coming from the position I'm in now, which is really, I'm kind of both, right? I still receive mentorship regularly from people within my breed. I'm very fortunate. I talk to lots of different people kind of on the side or whatever at shows. And I love the amount of information I've been able to, that people have graciously bestowed upon me, right? But because of that, I have found myself in the position of just the basic, mentorship, right? Of helping people learn a little bit about like how to campaign their first special or how to even just find those specialty shows, like, oh yeah, this could be a really good opportunity for that type of dog that you're showing, and being in more of the role of a mentor, at a lower level, right? I definitely do not claim to be an expert in anything, but just knowing some of the basics about going to dog shows and how to pick up your number and all that type of stuff.
And you can learn a lot. I mean, there's so much to learn at the shows. And I try to tell our son this all the time when we're, when he's, if he loses in the juniors ring and he comes over and it's crying and it's, oh my gosh, and I think to myself, either way, he doesn't get upset until he's kind of out of the ring. And there's always, the kids are always congratulating each other and they're always very happy to be in the ring. And they're always like, hey, good job. And most of them are friends.
If
right?
you want to see some positive culture in dog shows, go to
the juniors ring. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Those kids have got it figured out.
Well, and what's really funny, and if a kid goes, and I will never forget the first time this happens, we could be in dog shows for 100 years. And until you have a kid in the juniors ring, you may not know we'll say the ethics of the juniors ring, right? So it was one of our first times in the juniors ring, and we're just sitting there and we're intently watching. It's our son's first time in the ring, and we're just watching and just praying that nothing happens, that the dog doesn't drag him out, that he doesn't trip, and then so when we're sitting there, clenching our fists, and then our son goes around the ring, and what do?
Oh no! Oh yeah, then we get yelled at.
And then we got yelled at. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I actually still remember the judge.
Yeah.
They yelled at us. If you're gonna clap for one kid, you're gonna clap for all of them, and that was our bad. No, that was our bad.
It was definitely our bad. And I looked at, I was like, what?
It was like, and the other parents are kind of like, whoa.
Yeah. So I guess the bottom line is how many group rings have you seen, or how many just regular rings, and everybody's clapping, it's kind of the same thing, right? If we took some lessons from the generation that is going to replace us, I think we would be a lot better off.
I can tell you, we were at the dog show this weekend, the Aubrey show at the juniors ring, and it was all like smiles, and they congratulated each other.
And then they run off and play football together.
Together. I know Cole is really good friends with another boy that does juniors and is super successmost and wonderful. Yeah. And afterwards they're like out playing football together.
They beat each other, sometimes they switch back and forth, but most of the kids in the ring will go and play afterwards. Yeah. And that's just like us as adults, I've been to so many shows where we were done, or we would pull our camper and we would show, and then there'd be a barbecue, and people would go and hang out and eat and visit, and it at that point it didn't matter who won the ribbon. It was about being a part of a culture that respected each other and that cared for each other.
Yeah, I think we need more of I go to lots of different shows and things, whenever I have the opportunity. And one thing that, I've seen a lot is, somebody who gets done and just packs up their things and leaves. And sometimes even if they do well, I mean, and that's easy to do. I know everybody's really busy in their lives, but I think being more mindful as a community of the time that we spent with each other, and mentoring each other, because a lot of times those barbecues or that after time when kind of all the nerves have come down is when that really good mentorship, at least for me,
you can learn a lot.
In my formative years took place, was sort of those like lunches or whatever was happening afterwards is when I could kind of get down and like ask the hard questions. Yeah. One thing I would encourage new folks to do is when you do kind of find that person that you're okay. Yep, this makes a lot of sense. If they've been around a long time, that's your opportunity to ask things like, hey, I saw this dog in a pedigree. Did you get to see it in person? Because a lot of times they did. And
Yeah,
that's something I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I can't go back 10 years and see this dog in the flesh, but they can kind of describe what he or she was like. And that's really like, those invaluable things that we don't want to lose.
exactly.
Cause like I can't, I wasn't there in, I don't know, the 1990s, early 90s or whatever, where this dog was around and being shown. But
You make that sound like it was so long ago.
it was a long time for me. And maybe they're like I don't know, the great grandparent of some dog I have. And I'm like, well, what was it like?
It worries me because, if I get a beer or something and they have to ask me for my ID, I was born in the 1900s now.
I know. No, we're getting old. I don't know, but can we still be the young dogs though?
I hope so.
I hope so. Okay, well, let's still be.
I think
we're dog show young. Can
yes,
we be dog show young?
we are dog show young. I
All
think
right.
that's pretty clear.
All right. So final points on this one. As an organization, right? So we've talked about being a mentee or a new person. You want to learn. So here's some tips on how to approach, some of these mentors, that you might be looking up to as a mentor. Kind of our responsibility as curators of our breeds, of our dogs, in passing that knowledge on to those who are responsible.
Yeah.
Finally, as as a community, right? I think one thing I would like to touch on is just the things that everybody brings to the table. So it was brought to my attention that we have a very diverse community of people that love the dogs, right? Like that's our common thread, like the thread that binds us.
Yeah.
But some people may be from different economic backgrounds. Some people may be from different cultural backgrounds. Some people are from different countries.
Yeah.
And different upbringings, right? Lots of different types of households have all come together. So what is it about that can be a strength and not a weakness? Because how it was described to me recently was this is like a weakness.
Yeah. And I mean, I think me and you can really kind of touch on this. I definitely can. I was in a heavy mentorship role probably the last 2 or 3 years that I was in the military. So I was actually injured while I was in the military. And so I was put into a public affairs area in my job where I was taking photos, and I had every troublemaker that came across my unit came to me. And at first I kind of freaked out. I was like, why am I getting all the people who are in trouble? And like you said, completely different ethnic backgrounds, people from different countries, different races. I mean, every opportunity to make a family, and our public affairs team became just that, a family. And I got to spend a lot of time mentoring young people and guiding them into success. And some people who were like right on the cusp of getting separated from the military are still in the military today, having wonderful careers. I just got 2 phone calls from 2 of my different airmen just this past week, just thanking me for the mentorship. And honestly, like that is worth it tenfold.
Right. And so what I want to bring forward is that, and I think that's a great analogy, right? Because the military, right, having a common theme that binds you, we all have something in common. We love the dogs.
Yeah.
And we love dog shows, or we love our rescue dog, or we love our dog on the couch. And so it's kind of the common theme. And so understanding that somebody who's new brings their own life experience, right? Like I'm a younger person. I may not be like the encyclopedia on this particular breed of dog, but I also bring my own life experiences, which are value added to the organization.
Yeah,
and
100%.
by the way, you bring your experiences. And oh, by the way, we have somebody who worked in corporate banking. Oh, by the way, we have somebody who worked
Has an MBA.
Oh, but by the way, also we have somebody who's a stay-at-home mom, but has an amazingly creative personality,
Yeah.
and she's really outgoing, and she knows how to market, or she knows how to reach like other people really well, or she knows how to socialize.
Am I the stay-at-home mom?
No, you're the dad.
Oh, okay.
Or you stay home. It could be a stay-at-home dad. I wasn't trying to stereotype.
Oh, I just didn't know if you were describing me. And
no, but like I think the point of that is that everybody is bringing something to the table, and the sooner we as a community realize that not only is that valuable,
yeah, it is
but we need those people. We need all of them, because purebred dogs are in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, have you been to a dog show and seen like the average demographic at the dog show recently?
No, I mean,
It's it's older people.
yeah,
Like,
and it's tough. There's what, like 5 kids total. I think when I went to the San Antonio show,
oh yeah.
there's not a ton of kids. Some shows, and
I think there are pockets, like around the country, there are pockets
there
of
are.
like these really strong junior groups, and some breeds are really fortunate and have lots of like young folks that are kind of coming up the ranks. And this is called, by the way, having the folks that are coming to replace like the club board members, the judges, the regional club people, the breeders. This is a succession plan. That's what that's called. And
Right.
I think we in dogs and purebred dogs need to take more of an interest in building our succession plans.
Yeah.
Who's taking my spot when I'm gone?
And I mean, is it possible? Is it possible to say, well, just can I give an example, to sell a puppy to somebody who knows nothing about dog shows, but mentor them into understanding and maybe even becoming a great show person?
It's possible if that's what the person wants. Like,
Yeah.
I think there has to be that passion there.
So for
We should
instance,
never force somebody into that.
when I kind of the reason I bring that up is I remember many years ago, and I'll say, pre world crisis, there you would see a ton of people just walking through the show that are not there to show dogs. They're not, some people are going to shop, for their next dog, and they want to, or some people are just genuinely interested. But I think that there is probably a demographic in there of younger people who are walking through because they are enamored and they are in love, but they have no clue where to start. And what do? They come up to your setups. They linger, right? They linger by
Yeah.
your setup,
Yeah.
and maybe they're afraid to say something. But I always make a point to say, hey, hi, how are you? And to try to strike up a conversation, and you can really learn a lot about somebody. And who knows, maybe that's going to be the next person that's in the ring if you just gave them a little bit of mentorship. And if they're looking at your dog, maybe they're enamored with the breed. And guess what? You breed puppies. So you could help them,
Yeah.
traverse into that world. And I think I don't see it as much. And like I say, we'll call that post world craziness.
Yeah.
But I still do see people now and then walking by and coming up to the setup and being interested and curious. And I also see a more so than none, the irritated faces and
Yeah.
the cold shoulders.
Yeah, and I think so. What I would challenge everybody out there to do, as we wrap up our second episode here, is to really think about the next time you interact with somebody, like, what is your succession plan? Like, let's say you've been extremely successful.
Yeah.
In whatever facet of a breed or dogs or whatever you've been doing. What is your succession plan? Like, are you planning for that? And let's start now, because if we wait until we can no longer, let's say, care for our dogs, or we're no longer really able to, I don't know, you can judge for a long time. I guess I'm not a judge, but you're no longer performing the function that you currently perform for the dog show community. And this is kind of for the mentors right out there. Start thinking about your succession plan, because I think it goes by a lot faster than you think.
Well, and I think some of the should-be mentors and maybe the good mentors, because there are good mentors out there. We've had them and we've had the bad ones. And I would like to see less of the bad and more of the good. But I think it's something that they need to realize.
Yeah.
And if you start young, if you start mentoring, now,
Yeah.
then you'll be a great mentor whenever you're done. And then, yes, your succession plan may just
Pass it
have
on.
someone to go to.
Yeah. And like at the end of the day, realize that, mentorship is challenging, and it's time consuming to give it.
It can be a lot of work.
It can be a lot of work to give. And
Yeah.
so as a mentee, understand that if somebody is taking the time to kind of like take you under their wing, that they are giving you a fabulous gift.
Yeah.
And even, you said like bad. I don't believe that there's any kind of bad mentorship. I think there's negative experiences, but from those experiences, I pretty much just learned lessons, right? What would you like to see change as far as like mentorship culture, I guess, in the purebred dog world? Like, final words.
I think, the main problem, what kick back on episode 1, kind of rolling into episode 2, the one and only thing that has kind of bothered me through this entire interaction and the reason we started this is caring, just kind of caring for each other, and not being so negative, not being so toxic. And and honestly, even the people who are toxic, to me, it doesn't mean I'm not going to be nice to you when I see you again. It doesn't mean I'm not going to still go up and give you a hug, because what does happen when we see each other in person, and this is what's always crazy, we see each other in person, the first thing we do is hug each other. Hey, I haven't seen you in forever. It's nice to see you.
Most of the time.
50-50, I guess.
50-50.
But still, I see those people, and I genuinely, if I'm giving you a hug or something, I'm genuinely happy to see people, and everybody's usually happy to be in the ring. And I just want people to stop hiding behind their phones and their keyboards, and just get out there and be an ambassador for the breed, and actually and care to see change, care to see growth, care to see excellence, and to watch these people that you mentor. There is no better feeling than watching somebody that you mentored become successful in whatever that is, whether it just be life. It doesn't even have to be dog shows. You can mentor somebody in dog shows and they can carry those aspects on into life. Just watching your mentees grow into something great, and even maybe their own mentors one day, is extremely rewarding.
Yeah. And I think that's also a sign of success. Like, I know a lot of times we measure success in dog show ribbons and trophies and titles and rankings. But at the end of the day, maybe you are successful if you were able to bring, your successor in, right? Like if you were a breeder and you brought somebody else in and now they're successfully breeding responsible, healthy, happy dogs,
Yep.
and they're showing and carrying on the legacy. Maybe that was your success.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to see change is just really making sure that we're passing along and capturing knowledge, and really changing that culture of not just trying to keep it all for ourselves. Because although it's great to be competitive and feel as though you have competitive advantage, which I'm an incredibly competitive person, I think it is irresponsible sometimes to hold back so much. And I do want to do a shout out because I saw somebody posting on social media. So I'm getting ready to go to a large dog show again next coming weekend, specialty shows for my own dogs. And I saw somebody out there posting like, hey, I'm willing to like mentor somebody ringside. And I thought that was like really cool of her to do that. Somebody who's been around a long time, has a ton of experience. And so like, good on her for throwing that out there. And it was kind of in the context of like, no confrontational conversation about crazy parent club stuff or whatever. And I thought that was super cool. Like, cool on her for just like kind of throwing it out there to anyone, like out in the wind.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for. She may not be in our breed, or she may be
No,
in
she
our
is.
breed. You don't have to be in.
She is though.
Oh, that's good.
She
That is
is.
good. But you don't have to be. You don't have to be in the same breed to be a mentor.
Yeah. I think just like that openness was so refreshing and wonderful. And keep it up. And like whenever I've encountered, because I have had mentors in other breeds that I've either learned from indirectly or directly, some incredible people that I've been super lucky to get like a pearl of wisdom from. And those people just being so open and so sweet to me.
Well, what's really fun is like when you have that open, sweet mentor, right, that you've set up next to at a dog show, and that
no, we're not going to tell that story on the
podcast. I'm just saying, like you set up next to them, and then he's playing with your kids, and you guys are just you're learning, right? You're learning, and he taught me some stuff about min pins, about small dogs.
And then you look up to this person, and you're like, wow, I was just like talking to a giant.
And then they win Westminster.
Well, that too. But whatever. But yeah, like you're like I was talking to an actual, like not physically a giant, but like like a giant,
true ambassador, and that's the representation I guess we're trying to get across, right? Somebody who is so humble and so sweet, and just really such a nice person. And not just that person in particular, but many people are like that. And if you just take the time, you'll find that those mentees, those people will truly appreciate your time and just respect each other. And
I'm gonna end the episode with a thank you to anybody who has ever taken the time, whether it was 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 or 6 years, and I've had mentors in all the categories. Like, thank you for what you've done for me. And the best way that I can thank you is to try to give it back as best I can with the things that you've taught me. Because I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate every single person in my parent club love me or hate me, that has shared something with me and taught me something.
Yeah. There are stuff I use to this very day from close mentors that I had to spend weeks with.
I just,
I've spent a week in a stranger's house, not a stranger anymore, but spend weeks in stranger's house just because the female wasn't ready to be bred, and so I had nowhere else to go. I was 16 hours from
oh
home.
my gosh, it's a
Yeah.
disaster. I think you'll find yourself the longer you're around purebred dogs, like in our quirky community, like things will just happen that you have no control over,
Yeah.
and you will be surprised at whose couch you end up on.
Yeah. It was a good couch.
It was a good couch.
Yeah. It was a good place to land.
I'm glad to hear that.
I learned a lot, and I really appreciate those people and yes, their time.
Yeah, no, everybody. So I want to thank everybody who's watched the podcast. We've had such positive experience, like positive outreach to us. Please keep reaching out. We want to hear your ideas about what to communicate next.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of great episodes teed up for 2023. We hope to keep producing this amazing content. So please like, subscribe, share, and be the change you want to see in purebred dogs. So with that,
I'm Curtis.
I'm Sam, and we're the Young Dogs.